Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better. Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East. It's going to work together.
Yes, President Trump in Israel addressing the Knesset, the Israeli parliament there, on the newfound peace. But he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. Some lady in Venezuela did. She sounds like a perfectly nice person, I'd have a beer with her. I think there'd be plenty to talk about. But the Nobel Peace Prize, kind of a laugh out loud little medallion. Barack Obama's got one, the Mad Bomber, as he's known around the world. President Trump took a shot at Barack Obama while in Israel addressing the Knesset today. I don't think it was in the script. I think it was kind of off the cuff, talking about the worst presidents ever. And so naturally he talked about Joe Biden and Barack Hussein Obama. Not on our side, not on our side. And a very good and happy Monday to you. Welcome back once again. We remain at 888-630-9625. Such goings on, I'm here to tell you. Boy, oh boy, not only the president in Israel, Air Force One, the prime minister of Israel, the opposition leader in Israel, invited up to the podium to speak before President Trump spoke. All kinds of really remarkable things going on. And the president wrapped up his speech there, headed off to Egypt. Now, you got to look out for that. I've got to imagine that the security profile on this presidential trip has got to be one for the books, absolutely off the charts. Now headed to Israel, now headed to Egypt out of Israel. And I can imagine that in Egypt, it gets much worse when it comes to the security profile. We all know what kinds of things have gone on there in the past. Ask Anwar Sadat, for example. But security profile crazy. The president in Israel being cheered like he is the Rolling Stones, like he's U2. He really very, very popular in Israel, and with very, very good reason. The president started working on this in his first term, the first year of his first term as president. Then the Democrats engaged in all kinds of hijinks, and Joe Biden got far more votes than any president in the history of the United States, because the Democrats loved him so much that they all wanted to date him. They wanted him to sniff their daughters and things like that. But all of that is fine. All of that is fine. The president doing amazing things that are changing the course of the world, of human history. And the Democrats, in the meantime, what are they having? They had a naked protest. It was on bicycles, which sounds uncomfortable, I think, doesn't it? It's you're naked on your bicycle, shouldn't you? They make special clothing for that sort of thing. But Portland, Oregon, where the mentally ill go to be normal. Portland cyclists stripped naked in protest. Protest against what? What are they protesting against? Against National Guard deployment and ICE. They hate Immigration and Customs Enforcement because they're Democrats. You know how they are. They're pro-crime, pro-pandemonium, and in fact, they dress like pandemonium, don't they? But here's the naked. I'm looking at the pictures, and there's nothing to write home about here. These are not people that, if they had internet channels, no one would join them. But they've got a bunch of Democrats. A lot of them decided to wear plastic bags because it was raining, because it's Portland, and it rains in Portland. And it might be one of the reasons for all of the illness there. It's hard to say. But the Democrats, they're naked. They're riding bicycles around. They're protesting ICE and the National Guard. Mental illness is truly a crisis in America. We need to start identifying membership in the Democrat Party as a mental illness, because it's so obviously true. But we've got that going. They've got their naked bike ride because they're anti-ICE, they're anti-law enforcement, they're pro-open borders, they're pro-illegal alien gangs roaming the country free. They're Democrats. They're Democrats, And today, speaking of protesting naked, today is Columbus Day. That's Christopher Columbus Day, the Italian explorer. Isn't there a song about him? I think there's a song about him somewhere. Christopher Columbus, the Italian explorer, he was sent here by the Spanish crown and, Queen Isabella and the gang. and some wooden ships on the water, very free and easy. And amazing. He talk about changing the trajectory of human history. Christopher Columbus and a very small number of people, a lot of them Basques, by the way, of his ship's crew, because they're the only ones crazy enough to get on ships to go sail off the edge of the earth, on the giant waterfall on the end of album cover Earth, when the earth was flat and you could sail off the edge. And Christopher Columbus went a long way to proving that's not true. Hey, wait a minute. We go over here, we reached India. Of course, it wasn't India, but never mind that. So the Democrats are out there. They're protesting against Italy. They're protesting against Spain. They're protesting against ships. They're protesting against Western civilization. They're not on our side at all. They're really not. They're not with us. They're the left. They're not liberals. So we've got big things going on. Columbus Day, and it's kind of a holiday. The roads are like holiday roads out there in Washington, D.C., I can tell you that much. It's like Sunday coming in today, even though it's Monday, because I know some Democrats might be listening and they don't know what day it is most of the time. Today is Monday, even though outside it looks like Sunday. And boy, I'm telling you, such things. The United States of America is big. The United States of America is potent. The United States of America uses its power for good and not for evil. But then there's the Democrat Party. They're the party of after-school Satan Club, of firebombing the Jews, of attacking marches for peace with Molotov cocktails. They're the party of shooting and assassinating people. They're not the good guys, are they? But at least they do bicycle around naked in protest of the National Guard and ICE in Portland while it's raining. And I don't know what's going on with that. I think that one might be a tranny. But then they all laid down, looking at the pictures now on the news, because I have the internet here. You have the internet where you are now? And, there they are naked, and they're all laying down with their bicycles. And most of the people that say they're naked are actually not naked at all. A lot of them are, but most, I would say, are not. They're wearing underwears and plastic bags. They're mental. Most of them are mental. And that's perfectly normal for them. We've got some audio of those crazy people laying down their bicycles and blocking highways and blocking roads because they're naked or kind of naked or semi-naked. And they're protesting against enforcing the laws as passed by Congress, because the Democrat Party is a party of anarchy and sexual deviance. They're very confused, sexually very confused. But those are the big dogs. Those are the biggest dogs today. Obviously, the president in Israel, and peace going on there, and all kinds of fun going on there. Here in the United States, Democrats everything has to be done in a mob. They don't do much individually, except the ones with sniper rifles. Those they seem to do alone. And there's always some kind of transgender component in there with the Democrats because they're mental. Also in Washington, it's a big deal. The government shutdown continues because the Democrats keep voting to keep the government shut down. How many now? At least seven times the Democrats have voted to close the government down. But I watched on the news, and it turns out it's the Republicans' fault for voting to keep the government open, even though the Democrats are the ones that are obstructing, and Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, they're obstructing, making sure the government stays closed. And then our corrupt, filthy news media says, oh, yeah, it's Trump's fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's the Speaker of the House's fault. But wait a minute. They voted again and again to open the government. So what's up with that, you mental dwarves? Can you say dwarves, or do you have to say little people? Are they mental little people? I'm not sure. And if you have an MG midget, is it now an MG little person? Because I want to know what the politically correct terminology is. You know how deeply concerned I am with that. So isn't that great? Also, lots else going on because the world continues to turn Trump. It continues to turn. Trump threatens tech export limits. New 100% tariff on Chinese imports starting November 1st or sooner. Now, that is the Associated Press. The thing is, he's responding to China threats with threats of his own, and he'll win this one because he wins almost everything. But the Democrat Party, they're unwell. Oh, in the meantime, the Democrats in Congress, they're headed to California to go to a very exclusive five-star resort, very, very expensive resort, where they're going to hang out while the government is closed, and that's okay. It's the rooms there are $1,100 a night for the Democrats, and they're going on a wine tour and staying at a beautiful hotel resort in Yountsville or Yountville, California, $1,100 a night. And they've got an itinerary that will bring them to vineyards and to fancy restaurants, probably the French Laundry, where the governor was going there when he was telling everyone else to lock down at home, because they couldn't be bigger hypocrites if they were North Korean. But never mind that. And in the meantime, 600,000 federal employees have been furloughed. But the Democrats let's go get a nice glass of wine at a vineyard in the Napa Valley and stay at an $1,100 a night resort where we've got armed men surrounding us to exclude anyone that we don't want to be a part of our group. And that's just fine. In the news media, they're good with that. And in fact, on MSDNC, they're so anti-Trump that they're pro-war in Israel. And honestly, what do these mental cases do now, the ones that have been out in the street chanting for 2 years now, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. And President Trump stopped what the left was calling a genocide. It was self-defense. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. And President Trump stopped what the left was calling a genocide. So are they out in the street cheering, yay, Trump, Trump stopped the genocide? No, they're not. They're naked, riding around on bicycles with their mental illness on full display. But never mind that. The first, the hostages that are still living, 20 hostages, have been released by the savages, and now there is still a whole lot of hostages that they murdered, and they're still keeping the dead bodies of the people they murdered. They probably don't want to turn them over because they would show signs of torture and sexual abuse, and then they would be revealed, and you could photograph the bodies and present them as evidence at the war crimes tribunals of every filthy, stinking adult male in that hellhole that the Democrats love so much, because they want more of it from the river to the sea. They're just amazing. But a hostage, and this is great. My best girl pointed this out this morning, that the BBC is calling it a hostage exchange. A hostage exchange. Oh, you mean that the hostages who were kidnapped by the troglodytes are being released? Those are hostages. And the Israelis are being forced to hand over criminals and terrorists that were arrested lawfully by the police for committing crimes, and they were put on trial with a jury and sent to prison. But the BBC calls those convicted criminals and convicted terrorists hostages. They're not hostages. Israel isn't holding hostages. Israel is arresting and putting on trial and convicting criminals and terrorists. And then the liberal media, like the BBC, suckling on the taxpayer teat, they're declaring it's a hostage exchange. It's nothing of the kind. This is one side, hostages. Other side, convicted criminals. But corrupt, filthy media like the BBC, they'll call it something that it's not, a hostage exchange. That is not what it is. And also these terrorists, I went and grabbed this story from a couple of months ago from senior Hamas official, defends high price of October 7th for Palestinians. The high price for that's the term that he used, high price. Says the attacks created a golden moment, a golden shower for the so-called Palestinian people. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, golden moment, he said. This is this troglodyte from hell who would, in a civilized world, have to be hunted down and killed. But a Hamas leader created a golden moment for the Palestinians, despite the tens of thousands of deaths, because life is not something they care about. Ghazi Hamad, the Hamas leader who referred to the massacre and the war as a golden moment, even though they have paid a high price. Maybe not high enough a price, but the world is young. Stand by for more. It's unfortunate when you get sucked into this world and the Arab world with the Islamists, the price that civilization has to pay to conquer the savages who would destroy the world given half a chance. But we've got that. Also, J.D. Vance went on ABC with George Snuffleupagus, and there was an interesting back and forth. George Snuffleupagus is not a journalist, and he should be fired by ABC. They should ask for their $25 million a year back from him, too. And they should hire conservatives to host their news programs. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. Also, we got a New Jersey school board person who's kind of like the Virginia Democrat Attorney General candidate, wants everybody killed because Democrats are a bloodthirsty lot. Very bloodthirsty lot. And socialist mayoral candidate in New York, Zohran Mamdani the commie, chased out of a New York City park by a protester, yelling at him that he's an anti-Semite, only because he's an anti-Semite. We're at 888-630-9625. ABC News this morning on Good Morning America is doing a long take out on podcasters. It's not like there's any news going on in the world, so they're just, hey, let's do that podcaster evergreen story that we had on the shelf. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Ed, calling from Charleston, South Carolina. Ed, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes, sir. We listen to you all the time, and we just wanted to let you know that TRICARE, the military service that pays for some service prescriptions and also for some of our when we go to the doctor or hospital or whatever, and they pay for the retired folks, but also the active duty and also the service members' families. Well, that's been shut down. We received a notice that TRICARE will not pay for our things that we put in our claims right now. And so I just want to let you know that apparently the Democrats, they really want to give the illegal aliens health care, but they don't want to give health care to the service members who served and defended our country.
Do you think they have a carve-out for transgender service members to get special treatment?
I haven't seen that, but it doesn't surprise me.
You couldn't rule it out as a possibility. It's true, the Democrat Party loves illegal alien gang members marauding through the United States, committing crimes everywhere. But if you served faithfully in the United States military and were not kicked out of the military for repeated cocaine violations like Hunter Biden, then the Democrat Party wants to sink you, don't they?
You got it, young man.
How many times do the Democrats, how many times have they voted to keep the government closed in the last 10 days? Last time I looked, it was 7 or 8 times the Democrats voted to keep the government closed and to keep TRICARE from our veterans. The Democrat Party is not on our side. They're not liberals. They're the left. They're not the good guys. Honestly, Hamas is more reasonable. Yeah, and George Stephanopolous doing his part for the Democrat Party, attacking the vice president, then dismissing the vice president yesterday, attacking him over an FBI setup of border czar Tom Homan last year during Joe Biden's 4th year in office with his filthy, corrupt KGB-style third world FBI and Justice Department abusing the hell out of everything. And this actually goes with Barack Hussein Obama, emphasis on Hussein today. He's not on our side, but Hussein, he decided to post a video, and this video is pretty ridiculous, where he talks about the weaponization of the Justice Department. After years of the Democrat Party weaponizing the Justice Department and weaponizing the FBI, and we learned fairly recently that the FBI was weaponized by Joe Biden to go after Tom Homan and give him $50,000 in cash in a bag so they could set, and they're recording it, according to George Stephanopolous, because they weaponized the FBI and the Justice Department against the political enemies of the left, of the Communist Party, also called the Democrat Party. And amazing stuff. Now, I want to start with Barack Hussein Obama, and I'm going to get, of course, to Israel and President Trump speaking to the Knesset and Benjamin Netanyahu speaking to the Knesset, and a lot going on. But let me get to this first, because I want I want to get into the Israel thing with the president and the news media, as filthy as they are, just so corrupt. But, you may remember, and you may not, because nobody in the media ever talks about it. It died a natural death when Barack Obama used the IRS to target his political enemies and keep him on the sidelines during his reelection campaign in 2012. Now, the IRS targeted groups with Tea Party in their name, and he targeted groups with Patriot in their name. If you're, any kind of an American Patriot group, they targeted you because they know that no Democrat groups have the word Patriot in them. They don't fly the American flag. They burn the American flag. And the Justice Department in 2017 had to settle in court with conservative groups over the IRS. The news media called it IRS scrutiny. That was IRS targeting of groups that had the words Tea Party in their name or groups that had the word Patriot in their name, knowing that no Democrats would be found in Patriot groups because no Democrat is a patriot in the 21st century, really. But the U.S. Justice Department, the date from the Reuters news agency, October 26th of 2017, Justice Department settles with conservative groups over IRS scrutiny. That is, scrutiny means targeting in this case. The U.S. Justice Department has reached a settlement with dozens of conservative groups that claimed, now it was established in court, that the Internal Revenue Service unfairly scrutinized, that is to say, targeted them, based on their political leanings and the name of their organizations. When they sought a tax-exempt status, court documents showed. The Reuters news agency used as many soft Democrat Party words in there as they possibly could. In a pair of lawsuits filed in federal court in 2013, it only took 4 years then, the conservative groups accused the IRS of targeting, there's the right word, organizations with such words as, quote, Tea Party, end quote, or, quote, Patriots, end quote, when they applied to the agency for tax-exempt status starting in 2010 because they wanted to, have their say in American political life. And their Tea Party groups, like the founding of the country, and Patriots, like the Democrats have forgotten all about. The sides asked the United States District Court for the District of Columbia on Wednesday to issue a declarative judgment in one of the cases involving 41 plaintiffs that would say that the IRS was wrong to apply the United States tax law based on an entity's name, like Tea Party and Patriot, position or association with a particular political movement. But that's exactly what they did. And the IRS had to pay millions of dollars in the end to these Tea Party groups and Patriot groups because the IRS was very, very corruptly like a banana republic used to target the political enemies of Barack Obama and the Obama campaign. Now, let's go to Hussein. Let's go to, he was born in Kenya, as you know. I found another article today where one of his own campaign people in 2008 said he was born in Kenya, bragged in a document that his campaign put out that he was very excited he was born in Kenya, not realizing since he was running for president that you couldn't be president if you were born in Kenya. But they're not smart. They're corrupt. They're ignorant. Amazing stuff. Yeah, but the IRS had to pay millions of dollars. That's just one example. And then, of course, the FBI was weaponized to target political enemies of the Democrat Party, which is everybody except, their own circle fest in a hot tub. And it went on and on. The FBI, that we saw the under Joe Biden, the intelligence community and penitentiary faced John Brennan being abusing the intelligence community to claim that Hunter Biden's laptop and all the reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. This is what communists do. They tampered in our presidential election, the felonious 51 of that fake letter. Just amazing stuff. Yeah, and the IRS, they apologized, and they paid millions of dollars. And the news media ignored it because it doesn't serve the interests of the Democrat Party. Here is Barack Hussein Obama, posting a video over the weekend with his head wedged so far up someone else's dark and remote location that it's hard to salvage what he's even trying to say.
Like many of you, I've become increasingly concerned about the rising wave of authoritarianism sweeping the globe.
Yeah, like many of us.
We're seeing politicians target civil society.
Like you.
Undermine freedom of the press. Weaponize the justice system. And no one is being spared.
Yeah, freedom of the press. I recall the Democrats being on the phone and the FBI under Democrats being on the phone with Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook to crush stories that the Democrat Party didn't want out there. I recall the intelligence community being organized by the Biden campaign to put together a phony letter and sign up 50 felons to lie about the New York Post reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop. And the reporting on the Hunter Biden laptop was all true by the New York Post. And these felonious 51 frauds from our so-called intelligence community, they ran an information operation against the American people on the lead up to a presidential election. And it worked. Joe Biden won. And a lot of people in the polls believed that the reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. The only Russian disinformation came from our own intelligence people, like John Penitentiary Face Brennan and beyond. But never mind that. And here's Barack Obama. He's got some kind of temerity here, some sort of gonads to come out here and talk about somehow what, because Fani Willis, the Democrat prosecutor that targeted Trump in Atlanta, Georgia, may face the consequences for her abuses of power, like the very silly attorney general in the state of New York, who also abused the hell out of her power, ran on targeting one particular political figure, and then she did it and targeted the political figure with lots of phony baloney. Oh, no, it's so turbo. He said that his estate in Palm Beach is worth more than $19 million, which is what the court said, when a parking space there is worth $19 million. Isn't it amazing? They use the justice system in New York and Atlanta and Washington, D.C. They use grand juries. You're going to indict a ham sandwich, grand jury, the old line about grand juries and all that good stuff. And Barack Obama has the temerity to say that, using the justice system to target political, and he does it with kind of a quasi-straight face. I can't say an entirely straight face because of all the things that Larry Sinclair said, about having sex with Barack Obama in a hotel and doing cocaine with him and all that stuff. So not an entirely straight face.
We're seeing politicians target civil society, undermine freedom of the press, weaponize the justice system.
Right, yeah. And the intelligence community was on the phone with Twitter. The FBI was on the phone with Twitter, with Facebook. They were trampling free speech and freedom of the press. They were targeting political groups with the words Tea Party in them, political groups with the word Patriot in them. They're using the IRS. When I was in college, and I've heard that even recently in college, the left-wing professors whose heads are wedged up one another's dark and remote locations, they go on and on about how Richard Nixon once mentioned to his IRS director, what if we use the IRS to go after these left-wing groups, these communist groups who are pro, North Vietnam during the Vietnam War, pro-Viet Cong, pro-Pol Pot in Cambodia, pro-Soviet Union. What if we use the IRS? And his IRS director said, no, Mr. President, we can't do that. We shouldn't do that. And Nixon said, okay, what are we having for lunch? And then that was that. And they had a conversation about that long, and they're still teaching it in college. Then Barack Obama actually used the IRS for years against his political enemies, Patriot groups and Tea Party groups and beyond. And those are the ones that filed the suits, but there were more than that. And then Barack Obama has the gall, the mendacity, like Big Daddy, the mendacity to come out and make these ridiculous claims that somebody is using the justice system to target political enemies. You guys invented the wheel on that, at least in the United States of America. Third world banana republics, they've been doing that sort of thing for a long time. But you guys are the villains. You guys are the bad guys. So there's Barack Obama. And then we've got the let's go to the Vice President of the United States yesterday with George Stephanopolous on the ABC Sunday show that nobody watches anymore. But it is Joe Biden. Last year, Joe Biden used the FBI to target Tom Homan, who had been serving in the first Trump administration, is now serving in the second Trump administration as border czar. But just last year, when Joe Biden was still president, it's amazing that Trump has been in the White House for just under 10 months, now. And it seems like 5 years in so many ways. But here is the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who is actually a Marine that served in Iraq, unlike Tim Walz in Minnesota, although he claimed that he had. And here's George Stephanopolous, who started out as a Democrat Capitol Hill staffer, the Democrat campaign staffer, the Democrat White House official, and then immediately became a world-renowned journalist, because that's how that works, Democrat, journalist. Isn't that amazing? But listen to this, just yesterday on ABC, where they set up, the FBI was weaponized, as Barack Obama's talking about, against allies of President Trump, including Tom Homan, who wants to secure our border. And the FBI set him up, and they say they showed up with a bag of $50,000 in cash, and they somehow got Tom Homan to accept it. And Stephanopolous says there are recordings, but he doesn't have them. But the FBI leaked it to him that they have this. So they're still weaponizing, they're ambushing and weaponizing the justice system against their political enemies.
The White House border czar Tom Homan was recorded on an FBI surveillance tape in September 2024,
Says who?
accepting $50,000 in cash.
According to who?
Did he keep that money or give it back?
What
George,
money?
you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law.
And they're against enforcing the law. Stephanopolous was quite contentious because he's got to do the Democrat Party's work for them.
We can agree to disagree on that question.
Well, wait, you said he didn't take a bribe, but I'm not sure you answered the question. Are you saying that he did not accept the $50,000?
George, this story has been covered ad nauseum. He did not take a bribe. Did he accept $50,000? I'm sure that in the course of Tom Homan's life, he has been paid more than $50,000 for services.
And what were the services? But here's the news media, again, weaponizing the FBI, the Justice Department against the political enemies of the Democrat Party. And Stephanopolous is part of that weaponization, too.
I'm asking you, did he accept the $50,000 that was caught on the surveillance tape? Did he accept that $50,000 or not?
George, I don't know what you're talking about. Did he accept $50,000 for what?
He was recorded on an audio tape in September 2024, an FBI surveillance tape, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money?
What money?
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government.
And keep in mind, George Stephanopolous is paid $461,500 a week for doing this show.
Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
Georgie is not looking for the truth. He's looking for the ambush, for the hit job for the Democrat Party.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
Then he cuts him off.
I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Then he cuts him off, talks over him, and goes to commercial because he doesn't want to have a conversation. He's just an ambush boy. A dwarf-like Greek ambush boy. And isn't he amazing? Boy, it's good to be a Democrat. What's the truth, George? What really? And now here's Barack Obama talking about weaponizing the justice system and the FBI against political enemies. And hours later, here's George Stephanopolous singing from the Democrat Party sheet music. Sure, George, sure. Again, $461,000 an hour for that 1 hour Sunday show. George Stephanopolous. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it?
What's that smell in this room? Didn't you notice a powerful and obnoxious odor of mendacity in this room?
I've become increasingly concerned about the rising wave of authoritarianism sweeping the globe. We're seeing politicians target civil society, undermine freedom of the press, weaponize the justice system.
Yeah. And use it against Tom Homan and Donald Trump, and a long list that's 3 pages long when you print it out of Trump administration officials and allies that you guys targeted, like the third worlders that you are. All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Jay, calling from Frederick, Maryland. You can call me Jay. Jay, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, yeah, just kind of in reference to what you just said, the real focus beyond the $50,000 in Tom Homan should be, what was the FBI doing recording him and trying to set him up to begin with? That's where Republicans should have their focus.
Yeah. Well, that's right. On the using and abusing the FBI and the Justice Department to target the political enemies of the Democrats, which they've done more times than I could count in a 3-hour radio show and lay out here. But what do you think about that, Jay? What should the Republican response be?
Well, I hope Kash Patel is going to be looking into this, and Pam Bondi, and that they're not going to let it go. I know everybody's looking for a win here. It's slow going, and this is just another example, and I think people are starting to get pretty frustrated.
Well, I think a lot of people are beginning to. Some have been genuinely frustrated for quite some time. And you're right. And for Barack Obama to come out here, he's got some kind of guts. I'll just say guts to come out and say something as ridiculous as this when it ought to. Yeah, he knows that the news media is so corrupt that he can come out and say these things in public, and nobody will call him on it because 98% of them are corrupt Democrats.